Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to give an introduction to Python notebooks, which are a really awesome tool for writing Python sort of interactively. Very useful when you're working with data and you're trying to explore your data, or for presenting your programs or your sort of computations on data sets to others. So to take a first look at these Python notebooks, I'm going to click into the assignment about NumPy arrays. And you can see that there's nothing that needs to be submitted. And in this video, I'm really going to focus on just showing how these Python notebooks work, and there will be another video talking more specifically about NumPy. But I will click into this assignment, which is itself a Python notebook. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm opening it in an incognito window so that I am not signed in to my own Google account. So what we're looking at here is a Google Colab Python notebook. And like in all Python notebooks, there are two types of cells. The whole thing is built from these cells. One type of cell is a text cell, and in Google Colab notebooks, text cells always have a white background, and these contain explanations like in this tutorial, or maybe you could make a Colab notebook that's explaining some insight you have about a data set. Then you would include text cells to give context, or in this tutorial, these text cells are going to teach you about NumPy arrays. There are also code cells that contain Python code that you can run, and these code cells will always have a light gray background in Google Colab notebooks. You can see that we can run code cells, and the way that we do this is we find the area to the left side of the code cell, and we'll see an arrow, and we just click on that arrow. And so this, for example, is a code cell. We can see it has a gray background, and it says, and this text cell is telling me to run it. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. And you'll notice that, let me press that again, it says running read-only notebooks is not supported. Make a copy of this notebook. And so just logistically, for you to be able to run this code, at this point, you should make a copy of the notebook. So how can you do that? Click the File menu, click Save a Copy in Drive, and then if you're not signed in to a Google account, you're going to need to be signed in. So I'm going to go ahead and click Sign In here. I just went ahead and made a new Google account to use it as an example. If you don't have a Google account, you can make one very quickly. But if you have any questions, please ask. So I think my new Google account was student1234msu@gmail.com. And let's see if I can remember my password. And alright, it looks like I successfully logged in. And so now I'll just make sure that I make a copy here. And so now I can just work on this copy, and the important thing is that I should be able to run these code cells now. So here I am, I pressed run, and it looks like it's thinking, and I get no output, which that makes sense. If I ran this in my Python shell, I would also get no output. But let's go to a code cell that has a print statement in it, and we'll just double check. It looks like we are successfully running these cells. And so in general, when you have your own notebooks, you can add text or code cells. Let's say, as I'm going through this tutorial, I have a question. I say something like, well, okay, this NumPy array looks a lot like a Python list. It was called one-dimensional array. Is it a list? Well, how could I check that? I could use the command type, which will tell me what is the type of this variable, one-dimensional array, and I can run that, and I see, oh, it's not a list, it's a NumPy array. But that was just to illustrate that you can add text cells, or excuse me, code cells, and now they just exist in here. You can also add text. The above cell was just added. So you can add text to these, and if you want to sort of close this, you just find some white space and double click, and now that cell is just, that text cell is just in here. But in general, you will not need to add anything in these notebooks. These are just going to be tutorials for you to use, just to both be aware of Python notebooks and also as an interactive way to learn the new content that we'll be covering for the rest of the course. So, how you will use this this Python notebook is, first you'll make a copy into your own Google account, then you should just start from the top and start reading, and you should run the code cells. If you're always welcome to add code to them if you want, but there will also be some tasks for you to complete, and in these tasks you will need to add your own code. So for example, in this task, if I try to run it, we see that there's a syntax error, just like we've seen in Python when we have run it ourselves. And so you will need to add in some Python here to answer this exercise. So that is a Google Colab notebook. One other thing I wanted to show is that Google Colab notebooks were not actually the original Python notebook. The original Python notebook, and maybe more commonly used, is actually a Jupyter notebook. You can see there's a link to Jupyter notebooks here. I'll just go ahead and open this up. And we can see that this takes us to the home page for Project Jupyter. And in this class, we will primarily only be required to use Google Colab notebooks for these tutorials, but I will provide some resources for you to use Jupyter notebooks on your own, just because they are a really, really useful tool when working with data and when doing the sort of storytelling around your data that is also a really important part of data science. So, if you have any questions about Google Notebooks using these tutorials, please let me know in Slack, and good luck.